Get back. Stay left. Stay left, Chris. Good call, man. Woo! Yeah. I'm buying a dropper post, boys. Hard right, Chris. What's up, everyone? So today I'm going to install my first dropper post. I picked up the PNW Components Bachelor 150 dropper post. I'm really excited about it. I've heard how much a dropper post is a game changer. So I'm going to work through the steps. I'm sure it'll take me a little bit, but I thought I'd share some of those steps with you to see, just walk through how I've installed it. So I'll be right back. I'm going to start by removing my seat post and installing the lever, and then I need to open up my frame to run the cable housing. So that's how I'm gonna start off. So I think eventually I will pick up the wolf tooth lever, but for now the PNW Components Bachelor 150 came with this little thumb lever. It'll go on the handlebar. I think it'll work out pretty decent for my initial trial here. Obviously I'll need to figure out the placement of the lever, but for now I'm just going to get it in a general spot, generally close to what I want there. Maybe a little low, something like that maybe. Alright, the next step is I need to run the cable housing. So some of the frames have a hole up here that goes into the frame and it goes all the way down. My opening is down here at the bottom, and so most of my cable runs up the outside here, but there's a spot down here where I can get access to the seat tube. So as I mentioned, most of my cable will run down my frame here, my cable housing, and then there's a little opening here that I just unscrew and I can feed it through and get access to my seat tube here. So I've pulled my seat post out. I've just temporarily installed my lever on my bars, and I've opened up a little hole here in the bottom of my frame to feed the cable housing. So I have this cable housing that came with it with these little caps on it, and I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to run the whole thing, and then I'll figure out the length in a little bit. So nice. There we go. Wasn't too bad. Of course, I had a really short distance to go, so it wasn't as bad as having to come all the way down the frame here. So I just had a little bit of a ways to go there, and then I zip tie it on the bottom of the frame here. So the next step, I'm going to temporarily zip tie the cable housing to the frame so I can get a better idea of the length of the cable housing and what I may need to trim or cut. And I have a ton of zip ties, so I think I'll be alright if I waste a few and have to clip them off. If the length works out well, then it'll be good to go. So I have removed my old seat post, installed temporarily, at least in position, the lever, I've run the cable housing down into my seat tube and just zip tied it. Potentially I may have to cut off the zip ties depending on the length, but it'll hold it in place for now and help me judge the length. I'm now going to take my saddle off of my old seat post and connect that to the new dropper post. Because what I want to do is set the dropper in the position that I would normally have it in terms of the height. It goes fully extended, and that way again it'll help me judge the length of the cable in the cable housing. After a little bit of fiddling, the saddle is attached to the seat post and greased up. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a temporary tie to the bottom of this so I can go ahead and get it seated in the regular standard height that I have down into the seat post, and then I can see again how much extra cable housing that I have. So I've used a twist tie to temporarily connect the seat post to the cable housing so I can lower it down into the seat tube and measure the length of the cable housing up near my handlebars when I have it set at my normal seat height. Okay, so I've taken the seat post back out. I had temporarily connected it to the cable housing, dropped it in, ran the cable housing over towards the lever, and got an idea of the length relative to turning the handlebars. I'm pretty sure I know where I need to cut it, but before I cut it, I'm going to run the cable through the housing and actually connect it to the dropper post. So I can be maybe 95-98% sure before I cut. We'll see what happens. Now I'm going to run the cable through the lever. So there we are. Obviously have quite a bit coming out there. And I need, they say 18 to 19 millimeters on the end here for it to connect to the dropper. So obviously when I push that down, roughly that length, I'm going to get that much more cable housing up at the top of my bars to have to manage and cut and account for. Because this is going to go down, press the cable housing out, and I'm going to have that at the top of the bars that I need to trim down. So I've moved my lever down my handlebars so I can get, now that I've cut the housing, I can get more of the cable housing back through, so I have a little bit extra slack to pull this back out because I've shortened it. And I just need to measure my 18 to 19 millimeters here for the end to connect to the dropper post, and put on the barrel nut, attach it, put the seat post in, move my lever, and we should be good to go. Alright, I got the cable cut. Now we're going to connect the dropper post. Connected the dropper post. I'm now feeding the extra line back through, and then I'll move my lever. And hopefully it'll work out okay on the distance, on the length.
Subscribe to follow my adventures and see more videos like this one.